God, I want to go to China so bad. Now that I did Japan, I gotta go to China, dude. Holy, please, dear leader, please allow me into your glorious nation. I want sea drones used by Russian military. China is selling on Alibaba. So yeah, when you say like, damn, you can buy anything off Alibaba. Yeah, no, literally, like you can actually. You mean to tell me we're gonna end the planet? I made commitments, motherfucker. I made commitments. I'm 500 goddamn episodes deep into One Piece lore. You're gonna tell me that we're ending the fucking world? No shot. Okay, this is actually pretty funny. So Xi Jinping, the great uniter, our glorious supreme leader in a multipolar world, third term Xi, top Xi, after coming fresh off the heels of trying to at least kickstart the process of ending the conflict in Yemen, solidifying or starting a normalizing relations between Iran and motherfucking Saudi Arabia. Not that, like, I'm being a little sarcastic here. Obviously, I have talked about this more in detail before with the Saudi-Iran deal that China put together. You know, I don't know what that will look like. We'll see what happens there. But that glorious leader is now going to Russia to have a little conversation with them. You know what I mean? Now, does this mean they're going to start selling arms to Russia? Who knows? I mean, that's our thing. You better fucking watch your back, Xi. Let's see what he has to do. Let's see what he's going to do. If China ends the Ukraine-Russia war, can you imagine? Dude, that's not happening. That would be insane.
Well, a major development
anyway, let's take a look.
The direction of the war in Ukraine. We learned this morning that Chinese President Xi Jinping will visit Russia next week to meet with Vladimir Putin in an apparent show of support. This comes on the heels of a mid-air confrontation between a U.S. surveillance drone and Russian fighter jets over the Black Sea. Video released by the U.S. military shows the moments before one of the jets clipped the drone Tuesday, causing it to crash. Weijia Zhang is at the White House. Weijia, good morning.
Good morning. Chinese officials say Xi will be meeting with Putin from Monday through Wednesday of next week. It will be their first meeting in 6.
Oh, God, I'm like trying to figure out how to do it. Xi Jinging on my ping to like come. I mean, Xi is the correct way to say it. Isn't it Xi Jinping? Stop throwing huzz. You know it's good. I'll figure it out. I'll figure out a good way to say that.
6 months and comes after Xi secured his historic third term as president. This meeting in Moscow also sends a strong message to Washington as tensions between both countries and the U.S. remain high.
Chinese President Xi Jinping and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin last met in September 2022. Now, just over a year into Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the two world leaders are planning to meet again Monday. Both countries made the announcement Friday.
Oh, God, I want to go to China so bad. Now that I did Japan, I got to go to China, dude. Holy fuck. Please, dear leader, please allow me into your glorious nation. I want to see these tier 1 cities so bad. I want to ride the fucking high-speed rail so bad, dude. Holy fuck.
The Kremlin releasing a statement saying the two leaders will discuss the development of a partnership and will also...
We're making fun of Chinese names, huh? Yeah, baby. The number one Don't Stop Asian Hate broadcast in the United States of America. Me. I love the you're being quite xenophobic, sweeties, in the chat, dude. You will not find a stronger defender when there are defensible things that China does than me, motherfucker. Shut the fuck up.
Sign important bilateral documents. This comes on the heels of a report by Politico that Chinese companies have been sending assault rifles, body armor, and drone parts to Russian entities. The shipments took place between June and December of 2022, according to customs data, unconfirmed by CBS News. On the Takeout podcast, White House spokesman John Kirby told Major Garrett Thursday China should think twice before providing lethal weapons to Russia.
We don't believe that it's in China.
China should think twice. That's our game, bro. Chill. Chill. Damn, man, you can really order anything out of AliExpress? Yeah, I mean, quite literally, as a matter of fact. Here it is. Exclusive. Chinese-made drone retrofitted and weaponized downed in eastern Ukraine. Sea drones used by Russian military. China is selling on Alibaba. So, yeah, when you say, like, damn, you can buy anything off Alibaba. Yeah, no, literally, like, you can actually. You can buy the fucking tunnel boring machine on Alibaba, dude. Like, you can buy anything on AliExpress. Dude. These motherfuckers about to sell a Hadron Collider, okay? It's like not even that expensive, too. What the fuck? Like, this is a car. And it's half off. Like, should I buy this? I got a bunch of streamers together to buy one of the boring tunnels. Boring tunnel machines. There's no way there's free shipping for this. There's a 75-day buyer protection money back guarantee, too. You could buy anything but Jack Ma's Freedom. Yeah, why would I do that? Not gonna lie, some of the mountains in the United States deserve a hole in them. You can make it happen. Dude, that'd be so fun. You'd be a fool not to buy the open box 50% off free shipping boring machine. I don't know where to put this, dude. Okay. CBS, Xi is selling weapons to Russia. Reuters, Xi is trying to broker peace in Ukraine. Booyah, 69. Thank you for the 5. Get the subs. I mean, I think the truth is somewhere in between. I understand the whole anti-hegemonic angle and the obvious economic benefits of a partnership with Russia, but I still don't see why China considers this worthwhile, considering the way they've been trying to stay out of the crosshairs of the West as much as possible while they build up power and prosperity. It's one of those expending political capital situations that doesn't add up to me. I agree. I said this already. You cannot, if there's one thing you cannot defeat the United States on, it's selling weapons of war. So I don't understand what diplomatic purpose this would have to continue the efforts and give a lifeline to Russia in any meaningful capacity. Like staying on the sidelines and simply stating from afar, like, oh yeah, well, maybe you shouldn't do that, but we're just not gonna, give our immediate support to the West. That alone, like the Indian style of diplomacy, the Indian diplomacy in this circumstance, I think is more beneficial if you are trying to be a world power, a superpower in this field. It's like that's what India did. India was like, oh yeah, we love the West, but also like we're not really gonna say something too bad about Russia now, so they can get Russian gas and oil and sell it to the Western world, right? At a higher markup, being the mediator. That's like great. It's great for them. Don't really understand why China is not, if China is like straight up fucking dumping weapons into Russia, they're not going to make enough money off that. It doesn't make sense. The weapons were private orders, not sent by the government. Yeah, but nothing in China happens without the scrutiny of the government. Let's be real.
China's best interest to be on that side of the war in that way to help.
That's like saying the pipelines blew up completely outside of the purview of the United States. Like, come on.
Mr. Putin slaughter innocent Ukrainians. We don't believe it's in China's best interest, but obviously that they'll have a choice to make.
Just days ago, a Russian fighter jet collided with an unarmed American drone, forcing it to crash into the Black Sea. Video released by U.S. officials Thursday shows the Russians making 2 passes from behind the drone, dousing it in a cloudy stream of jet fuel before clipping it.
To demonstrate publicly what type of actions the Russians had taken, we felt that it was important to provide this imagery.
CBS News has learned that those Russian pilots were acting on orders from military leaders. And in another development, this morning, Slovakia announced it will join Poland in sending fighter jets to Ukraine in the coming days, making them the first NATO nations to do so. The White House says that that decision does not impact the U.S. assessment that Ukraine does not need fighter jets right now, and the U.S. does not plan to send any.
Oh, shit. Chill, bro. Poland, on the other hand, Paul Keating, China has committed the largest sin in the eyes of the United States. What is the sin? To develop an economy as big that is as big as the United States? Oh, shit.
Committed in the eyes of the United States the great sin of internationalism. And what is that sin? To develop an economy as big as the United States. That's the sin. The Americans will never condone or accept a state as large as them.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just not fighting in this, okay? Like, I don't know about you guys. But I'm not fucking fighting in this, okay? Straight up. I don't give a fuck. I'll go live in a mountaintop. I don't give a single fuck. You know what I mean? Conscientious objector status immediately. You know? I can't do it. I got weak knees, okay? I got bad knees, man. I got bad knees. It's not happening, okay? You think I'm going to put my body on the fucking line so that, like, Raytheon's fucking bottom line looks better? Get the fuck out of here, dude. No shot. I'm buying one of those Alibaba Express tunnels, and I'm tunneling down all the way to China until I come out of the other side, okay? Getting no scope by pro CS players? Yeah, it's just so fucking stupid. So dumb. Come to Canada. You think America's hat is not involved in this? You crazy. There's there's very little places you can go to on the planet if like America and China get into any sort of heated, any additional heat. Oh God, it's just like, it's so fucking annoying, dude. There is so much more food to eat, okay? I have not had my entire life's worth of A5 Wagyu. I need to go to Japan. I need to go to China still. You cannot end the world before I do these things, okay? I got to fire off way more nuts. I got ropes to fucking unload. And I got delicious meats to consume. And you motherfuckers are trying to end the world, dude. It's bullshit. Metal Gear Solid remaster potentially in the works. You're going to sit here and act like the world should end before we play Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear Solid 2 once again. Maybe Metal Gear Solid 3, put that in there for good measure. I haven't finished One Piece. Luffy has not found the hidden pirate treasure. I want to see that shit. Bullshit. Everybody needs to chill the fuck out, dude. Elden Ring DLC still not announced. Gotta wait for that until the world ends. Yeah, no, for sure. I don't like that.
I would have preferred they remain in poverty, 20% of humanity forever. But the fact that China is now, you know, an industrial economy larger than the United States, larger, according to IMF, 20% larger, they say, hang on, this is not in the playbook. China has committed in the eyes of...
Fucked up. I just don't know. Yeah, KOTOR remake still not released. Absolutely fuck no. Stop it. Stop it. Many ad break segues to come. You know what I mean? I got a long life ahead of me, hopefully. Fuck that.
Underlying.
Don't want to see the end of the world yet. You know what I mean? But if you want to see this broadcast in an uninterrupted fashion without any sort of ad breaks whatsoever, then all you need to do is subscribe, baby. Because at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5 or for free with a fucking Twitch Prime. Twitch Prime is fucking free as long as you got an Amazon Prime account connected to your fucking Twitch account. There you go. Wham bam, thank you, fam. Also, you can get gifted a fucking sub too. Evil Ez, thank you for the 5 get this subs. NP Shocky, thank you for the 5 get this subs, allowing 10 people to no longer see the fucking ads at the top of the hour. Very fucking nice. Nice. You're too old to be conscripted anyway. It doesn't matter. If the world fucking ends, it just ends. You know what I mean? Here's the 3-minute ad break now.
All this stuff about the need of nuclear power is the
Go
idea.
fucking warm up my chicken.
Or will threaten us. Now, this is a distortion and it's untrue. China does not threaten the United States. Nobody can threaten the United States. It's got 10,000 kilometres of sea between the Chinese coast and California. It's got the Atlantic Ocean on the other side. It has a massive country with in space, land mass and friends in Canada on the north and Mexico on the south, and the greatest armaments in all history. China has committed, in the eyes of the United States, the great sin of internationalism. And what is that sin? To develop an economy as big as the United States. That's the sin. They've got as big as the US. The Americans will never condone or accept a state as large as them, you know, and that's what China presents. China's mere presence. I mean, they would have preferred they remain in poverty, 20% of humanity forever. But the fact that China is now, you know, an industrial economy larger than the United States, larger, according to IMF, 20% larger, they say, hang on, this is not in the playbook. This is not in the playbook. You know, what an affront. This is about the maintenance of US strategic hegemony in Asia. Now, this is a country which has no land in the metropolitan zone of Asia. There's no US in Asia. It's 10,000 kilometres across the Pacific to the coast of California. So they are not a metropolitan Asian power, but they claim to be and wish to be the primary strategic power in Asia. So what are the Chinese supposed to say to that? Oh, that's okay. We've been here 4,000 years. We've developed, you know, we've been subjugated by every bugger known to man. We've developed a decent economy, a decent standard of living, you know, shelter, accommodation, education, you know. That's our sin, is it? That's our sin. And we've got to be superintended by your Navy, you know, by the US Navy. Could you just imagine if the Chinese Blue Water Navy decided to do their sightseeing 6 miles off the coast of California? Could you imagine the brouhaha that would go on?
You got to go to Aussie land before the world ends? Bro, I want to go to Aussie land, but like the Aussies are playing a very interesting tightrope game here, right? Because on the one hand, you got like Australia's entire economy being reliant. Okay? Entire economy being reliant on China. Okay? On the other hand, they're getting nuclear submarines from the United States of America. Okay? And what I don't understand is like, bro, you are not the Philippines. Like, what? You're going to turn your country into a fucking a sea base? Kind of slazy with it. You just don't fucking get it. Friendly Geordies and boy will protect you. Mate, friendly Geordies can't even fucking protect his own fucking house. The fuck do you mean? Bro, Friendly Geordies is currently, like, literally having his fucking home firebombed. What do you mean? He's perhaps the worst person to hang out with if I'm in fucking Australia, dude. If I'm trying to evade scrutiny from any kind of government whatsoever. Out of pocket, bro. I mean, it's so fucked up. Give every citizen in Perth a javelin and this war will be over so fucking quick. Don't stop, mate. We need those subs to defend our small island nation. No, it's just money. It's a money-making operation. You're going to be able to make like submarines. You're going to make nuclear submarines. That's going to be a jobs provider for the Aussies, right? But it's also additional fucking protection, right? And by that I mean you'll be able to surveil Chinese activity in the fucking sea, right? That's not a fucking accent. Yeah, all right. Well, everyone knows what. Any non-Aussie who says they like Vegemite is no taste buds and should be locked away. It's hundreds of billions of dollars for submarines that won't exist for a decade. Yeah, they're just like making money. It's a money-making operation. Did you know that Friendly Jordies was called racist by one of the politicians he mocks because the politician is Italian? I'm not joking. I do love that. God, that's awesome. I mean, Friendly Jordies is great. Yeah. Oh, here it is. Poland mention, obligatory Poland mention. Here is Poland. Throwing their hat in the ring. They're the first country, or not first country, but they are sending jets to Ukraine.
To deliver warplanes to Ukraine. Our foreign correspondent, James Longman, is on the scene for us with the latest. Good morning, James.
Yeah, good morning, Michael. Poland will be the first country to give fighter jets to Ukraine. An announcement yesterday, the Polish President Duda said 4 Soviet-era MiG jets will be delivered to Ukraine in the next few days. They have others to give. They just need to be serviced before they are sent. Now, it's important to say these are some 30 years old. They're nearing the end of their working lives, but they don't need the same amount of training that more advanced planes.
Damn, bro, they're giving dog shit, dude. They're like, here, take this trash. What the fuck? F-16s, bro. Start training these fucking pilots, right? There's money to be made, motherfucker. Come on.
What does this mean for the United States? Well, the White House has said this doesn't affect their calculus. President Biden has already ruled out giving F-16s, but they do say that it is the sovereign decision of each country. And in that vein, Slovakia has this morning said they want to give 13 of these MiG jets. Meanwhile, the Russians are trying to improve them.
It's like your CS cases. Let's not talk about my CS cases. I got hard fucked, okay? Absolutely hard fucked, proper fucked. By the CS cases.
The military capability. They say they want to put hypersonic missiles on every one of their submarines. No word yet on when they're going to be able to do that, but these are the missiles that Ukraine cannot defend against. So obviously worrying for this country. And this morning, after a lot of speculation, we now know that President Xi of China will visit Moscow next week. Russia keen to say that this is a show of support for Vladimir Putin. The Chinese saying they're just trying to provide the conditions for peace talks. We'll just have to wait and see. George?
James Longman, thank
Still think Ghost of Kyiv story is not true. Watch what happens with new planes when they get it. Moldova, Mama Liga, you don't even know what a plane is. You think it's a bird, dog, okay? Motherfuckers never seen a plane over here talking about planes. This conversation does not pertain to you, okay? They saw one when they fled to the U.S. Yeah, that's true. I guess that's true. He did do that. Austin, the Ghost of Kyiv is alive and well. Austin is so desperate for me to pay attention to him right now. I can see that. Okay. I wonder if there's more. I kind of want to cover this more, but I don't know what else to talk about. Okay, yeah, I saw that already. Obviously, this is r/Baltic states. One of the, yeah, of course it's going to be awful. Look at this. Today, we Latvians remember our soldiers in World War II who fought in Nazi uniforms. It's Reddit, brother. Although they were part of the Waffen SS, they were not Nazis and rather fought for their families and land. Bro, you didn't have to say this part, like, this gives the game away, dog. Why did you do this? It's like when you see like a Azov guy with the fucking black sun patch. Like, what? You couldn't take the patch off before you posed for the Associated Press? Like, what are you doing? Like, do you not care? What is happening here? Yeah, instead of blood and soil, he said families and land, which is very different than blood and soil. You know, families, not blood, and land, not soil. Obviously, very different. You guys are being annoying. Oh my God. Oh, here, Judge Beryl Howell says, in new order, the Justice Department prosecutors have met the threshold for the crime fraud exception for Trump attorney Evan Corcoran, ordering additional testimony from amendment person with familiar with the matters. We talked about the Trump shit earlier. We're going to get to Jon Stewart, but all right, before we get to Jon Stewart, let's talk about 11 big banks rescue First Republic Bank with a $30 billion bailout. We're over here talking about fucking China, Russia, Ukraine. Meanwhile, we got some fucked up shit happening in our financial institutions, folks, here in the United States of America. Let's talk about that for a second while I go grab my chicken.
Worries over the banking system and the massive efforts now to boost confidence. In the latest effort, California-based First Republic Bank was given a $30 billion lifeline from 11 other banks in a deal partly brokered by Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, who also took questions from senators on Capitol Hill yesterday. And Capitol Hill is where we find our Scott McFarland, who's covering all of this for us. Scott, good morning.
Tony, good morning to you. The nation's Treasury Secretary gave temporary reassurance to lawmakers here about the state of the U.S. banking system. But the big question is, what happens next if another financial institution runs into trouble? First Republic Bank of California becomes the third U.S. bank this week to be rescued from collapse. 11 of America's largest financial institutions agreed to pump $30 billion into First Republic to stabilize the troubled lender after its value tumbled Thursday during early trading, rattling markets and the bank's customers.
I was definitely concerned with the financial situation, after the two banks went under.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen announced the deal hours after trying to reassure Congress about the health of America's banking system.
I can reassure the members of the committee that our banking system is sound and that Americans can feel confident that their deposits will be there when they need them.
The tumultuous week for banks has triggered new debate over a move by then-President Trump and Republicans, joined by 17 Democrats, to loosen bank regulations in 2018.
I think it's important we pay close attention to what's happening. I think it's important that this body quit listening to banking lobbyists.
But Republicans who supported the changes 5 years ago blame Biden administration regulators for failing to detect and stop banks from taking dangerous risks.
This administration has a great deal of responsibility for the bank failures that we had.
Dude, that's awesome. It's awesome when Republicans are like, yeah, where are the regulators? I guess they're too busy being gay or whatever, right? Like that's the funniest part, when they're like, wow, it's really crazy that like our banking regulators are not doing their jobs after we, basically eviscerated any matter of like regulatory power they have, and have created a process where there's like a fucking revolving door between regulators and the banks that they're regulating, right? And now it's like, oh man, who's to blame here in the situation where like obviously all of those chickens come home to roost? Wokeness. The regulators were gay. They were being gay. That's why this happened. Awesome. It's brilliant. It's the best.
Wall Street prepares for its final trading this week. There's a sense of uncertainty.
And if you just look at the news, you can tell that I think there's a lot more we don't know than we do know, right? And so we get the sense that there will be further problems.
Senators also pressed the Treasury Secretary about whether other banks across America would get similar rescues to the ones issued this week. She said only if there is systemic risk to the U.S. economy. Nate?
Scott, thank you.
Turning now to France, where President Emmanuel Macron has invoked extraordinary powers to bypass the lower house of parliament and force through a plan to raise the country's official retirement age. The move was met with anger on the streets, and that's putting it lightly, where thousands of people took part in demonstrations. Elaine Cobb has more from Paris.
Police clashed with protesters as angry workers took to the streets within minutes of the government forcing through unpopular pension reforms. They will see the retirement age raised from 62 to 64, which is still younger than most of Europe. Opposition lawmakers booed and jeered as Prime Minister Elizabeth Bourne told the National Assembly, where the bill would not pass, she was invoking special constitutional powers to force the bill through, as it became clear the minority government did not have the support to win the planned vote. They sang the national anthem to drown her out as she told them, "We cannot gamble on the future of our pensions. This reform is necessary." President Emmanuel Macron says his reforms are needed to ensure today's young people have a pension when they retire and without having to fund it by raising taxes. His plans prompted a nationwide strike.
That is the literal issue there. That's it. Like, there's a way to ensure that the pensions are protected. It's just like they can't. God forbid, bro.
Strikes and protests from January. They caused transport chaos, closed schools. This man says, "We are the ones who have to work another 2 years. We are the ones dying on the job. We are the ones dying unemployed. So at the end of the day, it's up to us to decide." And a nearly 2-week-old strike by trash collectors has left piles of garbage heaped around Paris. As night fell, some protesters lost no time setting them on fire. The unions have called for stepped-up strikes and more protests. They say they won't stop until the reforms are dropped altogether. For CBS Mornings, Elaine Cobb, Paris.
To a disturbing video in Virginia about the death of a mentally ill.
Why can't we do this? I mean, we're cocks. What do you mean? Like, and it's not just us. The British are like this too. It's so like the Anglo-Saxon mind. Not to get all fucking phrenology with it, but the Anglo-Saxon mind is servile, is subservient. That's what it is, I think. I don't know what the fuck it is. I mean, it's obviously not that. I'm joking, but like it literally is. We're just so cucked. We have no mechanism of pushback. Any kind of pushback is seen as like bad. You're rocking the boat. But for a fucking century, all matter of trade unionist activity has been undermined by the federal government. That's it. It's capitalism. Anyway, let's get back to the banks, though, because I want to talk about this. Workers are doing too well. Called the Fed to shut that down. Jon Stewart interviews Treasury Secretary Larry Summers.
And an economy that could only produce so much. We had huge levels of demand, and those huge levels of demand kept pushing up prices and pushing up wages. But ultimately, it was you put too much water in the bathtub overflows. You put too much demand into the economy, and you get high and rising prices.
But the San Francisco Fed says that is demand is maybe 30 to 35% of the inflation. Wages are really around 20% of the inflation. There's a huge corporate profit aspect to it. There's a huge supply chain aspect to it. But our method for controlling it seems really much more focused on wages and employment.
There's certain sicknesses you can have where there's a drug and it has side effects. And everybody hates the side effects, and no doctor wants their patient to suffer the side effects. But if you don't address the sickness, you're gonna have a bigger problem down the road.
But the stock market assets have gone.
That's so funny. Because, like, it's like breaking your arm, and then instead of putting it in a fucking cast, you just cut the arm off. Because you're like, well, the bone's broken anyway. What kind of a fucking analogy is this, dog? Like, inflation, for the most part, is still absolutely caused by profit-seeking ghouls. But the reality is, I mean, he's not going to mention this, but the reality is there is no price controls that you can implement because that would be communism, okay? There is no deflationary mechanism that you can implement through the legislative body in the form of taxes because that would be communism. So the only thing they have is cutting the fucking arm off. That's it. That's what they're doing. They're slowly cutting finger by finger, maybe the hand next, to try to put a stop to this by way of diminishing worker, like the marginal amount of fucking worker power that that workers gained during COVID.
Gone up 150%. CEO pay has gone up 1,500%. Workers' wages haven't gone up at all. I think you're misdiagnosing the sickness.
First, John, inequality is a terrible thing. The most serious problem the American economy has been the cleavages between those like you and me, who are very fortunate. That's why we need a strategy of strengthening labor power in the economy. The question, though, is it an issue that somebody whose control is over setting interest rates and printing money can do much about? Now, you could say that they shouldn't have responded to the 2009 recession by cutting money, by cutting interest rates. You could say that.
Yes,
but
you could.
Do you really think, and certainly that wasn't what progressives were saying at that time.
It doesn't matter.
At that time, progressives were saying we need lower interest rates so people can borrow money to buy houses and put people to work.
But they were
lower
My, I guess, unique perspective on this is that, and this is like not a fashionable one to say, but quantitative easing has to stop at some point. And I do understand why you would have to increase interest rates. So I don't even think that that is like the legitimate problem. It's just that when you do that as the only deflationary mechanism without actually addressing the root cause, because that creates unique issues in and of itself. Okay? But the problem is the money supply is only going to those at the tippy top anyway. Okay? It's not like they're doing modern monetary theory, chat. Like, they're not doing MMT. They're not fucking, unlimited, printing an unlimited amount of money and, like, doing it to fund social programs. Okay? It's just helping prop up new bubbles like the tech bubble, like we've seen, okay, which is part of the reason why we're seeing the tech bubble suffer so aggressively now, okay? The problem is there are many actual deflationary mechanisms that the government has no problem, or the government has no power to implement, okay? So the interest rates conversation, in my opinion, is like entirely separate. Can you please shut up, hun? You're so annoying. Where's my juicer? All right, price caps would help. I would be a fan.
At the corporate level, where they just put the money in the hands of the bankers and say, you decide. This pandemic was the first time the government, in my opinion, did the thing that they're supposed to do in a crisis. When you look at the stimulus payments that went out, you know, 70% of it was being used for rent and food. And if you look at the recovery in the pandemic versus the recovery from 2008, when you stimulated the economy at the demand level, jobs had plunged in the pandemic, and then they shot back up. The recovery in 2009 was painstaking, but the stock market did great. So our fiscal policy and our monetary policy has always been on the side of corporate easing.
Just so we're clear, if you talk to African-American voters, if you talk to Hispanic voters, talk to voters who don't have college degrees, they regard the country's biggest problem as having to do with inflation. So while you may see this as having been tremendously successful, our fellow Americans who don't live as comfortably.
Dude, neoliberalism is so disgusting. It's so cynical. Like, this demon is like, yeah, talk to some black voters. They love that we're increasing interest rates. They love it. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up, bro. What do you mean? He tried to turn this into like, you know, it's only white people that are upset. First of all, oh, God, I've never been so conflicted because on the one hand, I'm like, on the one hand, I understand why you would increase interest rates, okay? But also on the other hand, like, this has nothing to do with what the fuck he's talking about. In the United States of America, gains are privatized, losses are socialized, okay?
As you and I do, have a lot of questions, John, about what's happened. And it's not hard to understand why they have a lot of questions in light of what's happened to their purchasing power.
But you're suggesting their purchasing power.
We took a good idea and overdid it.
I disagree.
By providing for too much inflation.
But what you're not addressing is not all of inflation was stimulus. The tools that we have, though, are basically saying to somebody, everyone's paying more for gas and groceries, and that's really hard. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to throw 10 million of them out of work so that we all don't have to share that burden. Why aren't we attacking corporate profit in any way? Because that's been estimated to be 30% of inflation, 40% of inflation.
I don't think it's a tenable view that all of a sudden corporations became greedy. Of course there's monopolies in the economy.
No, you fucking demon. They've always been that way. What the fuck? Ah! That's insane. First of all, yeah, go ask that very same group of individuals if you ever even were in a proximity of one. But if you go ask those very same black people, brown people, Mexican people, Latino people, whatever, whether they think corporate greed is a fucking major problem in America. If you're gonna act like, you know, you're doing this for black people, go ask them that. Wonder what their perspective on that is. That's awesome. He's like, what? Corporate greed didn't just grow out of nowhere. Yeah, you're right. It didn't. It's been growing. Non-fucking stop, asshole.
John, and we should be for
they've been bragging about it on
much more aggressive
earnings calls.
Than we were.
On their earnings calls, they're saying our profits have never been higher. We're killing it. The markups during the pandemic are sometimes they're saying 70% of what they were.
If there was a huge increase in the demand for shrewd television commentary, I imagine the demand for what you do would go way up. And I imagine you'd convert that into higher wages and getting more and getting paid better.
You're saying it's the market at work.
I don't think you'd call yourself a gouger when you...
I would absolutely call myself a gouger.
When you did that.
And by the way, the effect of the talk show business is very different than the effect of ExxonMobil, right? I mean, let's be fair.
Isn't this show going to be on Apple TV?
Correct.
And I think Apple TV is worth about 5 times as much as Exxon. I think Apple's price, since the stimulus began, Apple's value has gone up by about $1.2 trillion
Yeah, bro, because you're talking to Tim Apple. This guy, this demon, doing the same debate tactics that motherfuckers do to me when they're like, well, you work for Amazon. Bitch, so do you. There is no avoiding fucking working for a demonic monopoly in this country. They designed it so that you can't get away with it. The fuck do you mean? And, like, it's additionally funny because, like, he is a person with, like, there are not that many singular individuals with, like, a lot of power. He's one of them, okay? Like, it blows my mind that, like, anyone that fucking, and anyone and everyone is just like, wow, like, this is a good argument. Like, anyone that looks at this and goes, that's a good argument, needs to be fucking lobotomized.
Right. That's $4,000 for every American, just an increase in the value of Apple.
You just made my point for me.
Do you feel that Apple is somehow gouging or doing something wrong?
Yes, of course. And Exxon is, and Mobil is.
So let's talk about Apple. Let's talk about Apple. Do you think Apple should just sell phones for less and not have enough phones? What would you have Apple do?
You're saying to me, John, market force.
You think Apple should just sell phones for cheaper? Yes. It's so funny. He was not expecting him to say yes to Apple because he's like, he himself is such a corporate dog. Obviously, that's why he's in the position that he's in, and a corporate master at the same time, simultaneously. That, like, he assumes that every other person that he's talking to is going to also be like, oh, no, please, no, oh, no, Apple phones, their prices should not be changing. Oh, my God.
Exxon is, and Mobil is.
So let's talk about Apple. Let's talk about Apple. Do you think Apple should just sell phones for less and not have enough phones? What would you have Apple do?
You're saying to me, John, market forces are market forces. And if demand goes up, are you suggesting, young man, that Apple should charge less than they could charge? Let me flip that on you. When there's a tightness in the labor market, what you're saying is the workers shouldn't do the same. That the workers, just following the same capitalistic principles that allow Apple to charge more for their phones, shouldn't charge more because wage inflation.
Meanwhile, they never fucking hit the profit center. Yeah. No, that's it. The only thing that they're there to defend is the fucking profit center. That's it. Profit margins. It's obvious. That's it. He's right. Jon Stewart is absolutely correct with this.
Is driving inflation.
That's not at all what I'm saying, John.
That's exactly what you're saying.
Actually, it isn't. Every worker should get as high a wage as they can. It would be a terrible idea.
But the Fed is going to intervene. The Fed is going to intervene to make that not possible.
No, the Fed is intervening to control the overall level of demand growth.
And what will that do to the labor market?
Much faster.
What will that do to the labor market? What will it do to the labor market? It will loosen it.
Likely to lead to
looser labor markets.
A somewhat looser labor market.
Exactly.
We hope to minimize that consequence.
Where's the full one?